a team of salvagers discusses equipment issues, noting their depth probe was off by 150 pats to the east. They evaluate a recent treasure recovery operation that appears profitable despite not needing much reinforcement. There's friendly banter about business sense, with one member quickly calculating potential profits, while another playfully criticizes this ability. The world they inhabit, called Alrest, is described as a sea of clouds with the world tree at its center. According to legend, people once lived on this tree with their divine creator, the architect, in a paradise called Elysium. They possessed incredible powers, but were eventually cast out for unknown reasons, possibly angering their creator. When humans struggled to survive in Alrest, the architect sent titans to save them. People settled on these titans and lived harmoniously with them for generations. However, these titans are now beginning to die out, threatening the future of human settlements. A titan is observed sinking, which has been happening more frequently. The characters discuss how their own home, Confronts Village, will eventually meet the same fate. The older titan, referred to as Gramps, acknowledges this inevitability, explaining that all titans eventually die, leaving fewer places for humans to live. They contemplate whether Elysium truly exists atop the world tree and how life there could offer peace without fighting. Gramps can't confirm where his ancestors were born, only that he himself was born in Alrest. The younger character wonders what the divine architect would think of their current situation. The younger salvager, Rex, decides to conclude the day's operations and suggests traveling to the Argentum Trade Guild to sell their findings. Despite Gramps' reluctance, claiming it's near his bedtime, Rex insists there's still plenty of daylight left. At the Trade Guild, Rex negotiates with a merchant while observing a massive vessel that isn't a Titan ship. The merchant attempts to interest Rex in selling military supplies, mentioning an impending breakdown of the ceasefire between Mor Ardain and Uraya, but Rex declines. Rex accepts an offer of 200 gold and arranges for the rest to be sent to Confronts Village. The merchant praises Rex's responsible habit of sending money home. Another character named Pupunin informs Rex that the chairman of the Argentum Trade Guild has requested to meet him personally. Chairman Bona meets with Rex and offers him a salvaging job with an extraordinary payment of 100,000 gold as an advance and another 100,000 upon completion. Without even hearing the details, Rex enthusiastically accepts the job, promising to use all his skills for success. Rex meets his crew for the job, including drivers and their blades. The job involves retrieving something from an uncharted area deep underwater. Despite some team members questioning Rex's youth and ability, he proves his combat skills when challenged, earning reluctant respect. Rex prepares to depart, despite Gramps' concerns about taking a job without knowing details about the employer. At the dock, Rex admires the impressive vessel they'll be using, the Maelstrom. There he meets Nia, who's roughly his age and part of the crew. On the ship, Rex and Nia talk on deck while others drink below. Rex explains he became a salvager to find a way to Elysium, which he believes exists atop the world tree. He views it as humanity's potential salvation as Titans continue to sink and living space diminishes. The salvage operation begins at the target location. The team is instructed to attach flotation devices to lift the shipwreck from 450 pars below. The wreck appears to be an ancient vessel with an unusual propulsion mechanism. After successfully raising the massive wreck, the team confirms it matches their reports. They're then ordered to proceed inside to locate and secure the objective. Despite some hesitation about bringing Rex along, the team prepares to enter the ancient vessel. A battle involving drivers and blades has just concluded, with characters remarking on the ruthless fighting abilities of drivers. Two younger characters are reprimanded by an older figure for talking too much, and they're urged to move forward. These fighters demonstrate exceptional combat skills against monsters, suggesting they're not ordinary warriors. The group discovers Adam's crest, which appears to be significant. A door that will only open to a specific type of person is encountered. After some tension between the characters regarding how to proceed, someone activates a release toggle that opens the door, allowing the group to move forward. Behind the door, the group finds a girl identified as the Aegis. This discovery proves significant to everyone present. Following this revelation, a character named Jin kills someone named Rex, which shocks another character named Nia. Jin instructs Nia to call their ship the Monoceros, suggesting they intend to transport the Aegis away. The scene shifts to a place called Elysium, described as where mankind once lived in harmony with their creator. Rex meets Pira, who is revealed to be a blade with a core crystal. Pira explains that Rex was killed by Jin and offers to give Rex half her life force so he can be revived as her driver, the driver of the Aegis. Pira reveals that Elysium truly exists atop the world tree in Rex's world, and by going there, they can save the world from its slow demise. Rex agrees to take Pira to Elysium, placing his hand on her chest to receive half her life force, which restores him to life. After Rex's revival, conflict erupts as some characters wish to eliminate witnesses while others resist this. A battle ensues involving Rex, now wielding the power of the Aegis through Pira. Despite being a novice, Rex shows surprising ability to control the Aegis's power, though the confrontation ends without clear resolution. The scene shifts to characters discussing how Rex, his Titan, and friends escaped southward from Cyclus Sea during a thick storm. This information prompts someone to contact a person called Chairman Banner, who proceeds to make a call to someone referred to as Consul Doodle. Their conversation hints at shady dealings involving core crystals. Rex and Pira have washed up on a Titan. They discover that Rex's guardian, referred to as Gramps, has been injured but has regenerated into a smaller larval form that will take 300 years to return to normal size. Despite this transformation, Gramps is alive and now portable, which Rex finds somewhat convenient despite his initial concern. The group sets out to find Nia, following a trail of broken trees. They hear sounds of battle and discover Nia fighting alongside her blade, Dromark. After a reunion, they find safe shelter where they discuss their situation and learn about each other's plans. Pira reveals her intention to reach Elysium and deal with Jin and Malus. The group learns they're in Gormott, a province of the Ardanian Empire. Nia is revealed to be Gormati, native to this land. She guides them toward Torragoth, the largest city in Gormott, but explains she can't be seen with them as she's connected to Jin's group, referring to them as her crew and the closest thing to family she has. A recruitment event for drivers is taking place for the Ardanian Empire, offering salary, benefits, and potential nobility status to those who qualify. The recruitment has expanded beyond military personnel as the pool of potential drivers is shrinking. A young man attempts to become a driver to support his siblings, but fails when he cannot handle the core crystal's power. The successful bonding between a driver and core crystal creates a blade weapon. Pira is identified as a special case called the Aegis, which means the normal rules don't apply to her. Blades begin formless, anchored only by their core crystal, and require a potential driver's touch to gain form and existence. The shape a blade takes may depend on the driver's character. Imperial troops interrupt the group, identifying Nia as a member of Tornah and Rex as an unregistered illegal driver. When confronted with a wanted poster of Nia that bears little resemblance to her, the group decides to resist arrest. A powerful woman named Brigid, described as the strongest blade in the Empire, engages them in combat. Brigid demonstrates immense strength even without a driver, but reveals blades have a weakness when cut off from ether flow. Nia and Dromark are captured, while Rex and Pira escape with help from Tornah, a no-pawn who interrupts the fight by breaking a water pipe. Tornah explains he helped them because he dislikes the soldiers and wanted to test his new invention. He expresses admiration for drivers and wishes to be friends with Rex. They discuss rescuing Nia and Dromark, but Tornah suggests gathering information first, since they are now wanted criminals. Pira cooks a delicious meal for everyone. Tornah observes that unlike Brigid, whose fire powers were weakened by water, Pira's abilities remained unaffected. When questioned about this, Pira becomes uncomfortable and admits her powers don't actually come from fire, though she doesn't explain further. Rex respects her privacy, focusing instead on rescuing Nia. Special Inquisitor Morag arrives in town earlier than expected, causing concern for the local council. She expresses urgency over the Aegis and demands to speak with the captured Tornah member. Morag confronts Nia in her cell, revealing her interest is not in Tornah, but in Nia's companions, Rex and Pira. The group devises a plan to rescue Nia and Dromark by infiltrating a Mor Ardain Titan warship. They discover an underwater route leading from the harbor to a cargo entrance beneath the ship, which appears to have minimal security at night. This becomes their chosen infiltration path. Tornah reveals his secret project, an artificial blade he's been building. He explains he lacks the potential to awaken core crystals, having nearly died from a nosebleed during a previous attempt. The artificial blade was originally started by his grandfather and father, but after his grandfather died and father disappeared, Tornah continued the work himself. Tornah needs 60,000 gold to complete his artificial blade. Despite the steep price, Rex decides to pay for the parts, recognizing how helpful a combat-ready blade would be for their mission. Tornah successfully completes and activates his artificial blade, naming her Poppy. Meanwhile, a disgruntled captain, angry about Morag's favor with the Emperor, refuses to accept defeat. He orders guardsmen to find the Aegis before Morag can capture her, hoping this will allow him to return to Mor Ardain triumphantly, or sell the Aegis to Bona. The group reaches the Titan warship via the underwater route. Poppy demonstrates exceptional strength by easily lifting team members. They locate and free Nia from her cell with Dromark's help. The group then attempts to escape, but encounters opposition. The captain attempts to capture Pira, recognizing her emerald core crystal as the mark of the Aegis. He reveals his intention to claim her power for himself, but is quickly defeated by the group. They discover Nia's execution was merely a trap to lure them. As they try to escape, the group confronts Special Inquisitor Morag and her Blade Brigade. Morag reveals she spread the rumor about Nia's execution to draw out Rex and Pira. She explains that 500 years ago, the Aegis sank 3 continents during the Aegis War. A fierce battle ensues with Morag. Though the Aegis's power is formidable, Rex's inexperience as a driver hampers their effectiveness. Rex devises an escape plan involving water to counter Morag's fire-based attacks. They successfully create a diversion and escape. Morag feels slighted that Rex held back during their battle, noting he deliberately avoided striking her. She decides to let the group roam free for now, intrigued by the Aegis traveling with Rex. Once safe, Rex explains his mission to take Pira to Elysium. He feels indebted to her for saving his life and believes finding Elysium could help prevent wars caused by dwindling living space as Titans die off. Recognizing he's not strong enough alone, Rex asks Nia to join them. a tense conversation unfolds with accusations about Pira potentially betraying Rex. Pira defends herself, making a joke that she doesn't even have a knife. The discussion shifts to the emerald core crystal, which is identified as the sign of the Aegis. Someone expresses interest in seeing Elysium, described as an endless field of green among the clouds, wondering if the legends are true. Rex and Pira tend to each other's wounds. Rex initially tries to hide his pain, but eventually accepts Pira's help. They notice their bandages match, creating a moment of connection between them. They admire a beautiful fire that Pira created, with Rex awkwardly complimenting her fire-making skills. Jin returns home, where Hyakos mentions the Aegis has awakened. There's tension as they discuss whether this was anticipated. Brona reports on other members. Bakal is inspecting a factory, while a sister is hunting drivers. They confirm they're tracking the Aegis, who is leaving Gormont. They also discuss a shipment of core crystals heading to Indol and mention that Nia is traveling with the Aegis. Rex demonstrates a cloud sea compass, explaining it functions as a map. They determine Gormont is currently closest to the World Tree, but they're stuck because the army controls all ships. Torah suggests visiting his uncle's friend Uman, a shipbuilder living at Gormok Titan's Bum, who might help them. The group meets Oman, who recognizes Torah has grown. Torah introduces his friends and asks to borrow a ship. Unable to tell the truth about events in Torah Gas, Torah claims he's broke after spending all his money on creating Poppy, his artificial blade. Oman agrees to help, but explains the ship needs parts to be completed. The group agrees to find the necessary components. The group observes the World Tree from close range, noting its impressive size and the dangerous currents surrounding it. As they consider how to proceed, Pira suddenly urges them to leave immediately, though her reasons aren't explained. The group finds themselves inside an Orion Titan's belly, surrounded by corpses. They decide to head toward the Titan's back, where the Orions live. Pira briefly disappears, but returns, having been exploring. Poppy provides light, making the environment less frightening. They notice filtered light, suggesting the Titan is above clouds. They encounter a driver named Vandam, who recognizes Pira as the legendary Aegis. He challenges Rex, easily dodging his attacks and explaining that drivers channel their blade's energy into weapons, but must be careful not to deplete it. After the confrontation, Vandam invites them to his village, Garfoth, where he cares for war orphans and runs a business dispatching drivers and blades worldwide. A group of mercenaries known as Justice Busters operate by dispatching drivers and blades worldwide. Many of their recruits are war orphans taken in during missions, who are given freedom to choose their future paths, whether becoming drivers like them or pursuing other careers like tailoring. Their primary goal is simply to help others. During a meal, Vandam engages with Rex about the realities of their world. He points out that even as a salvager, Rex inevitably participates in war by retrieving military supplies. The bread they're eating contains flour supplied by the Ardanian government. Vandam explains that in their world, everyone is connected to war, regardless of their profession. Vandam reveals he formed his mercenary band to protect those he cares about. He warns Rex that as the driver of the Aegis, he'll be hunted worldwide. When Vandam suggests Rex could easily escape by abandoning Pira, Rex remains silent, showing his commitment to her. They receive a job to investigate an energy anomaly near the blowhole, and Vandam invites Rex to join them as a temporary mercenary. The team encounters an ether miasma, described as poisonous waste from the Titan's gut. Rock, one of Vandam's blades, clears the path through the miasma. The group faces enemies, and Rex demonstrates impressive skill with his anchor after seeing a technique only once. Vandam explains that being a driver means not just using blade powers, but also mastering arts that use personal strength and exploit enemy weaknesses. The key is to channel power effectively and protect one's blade. They discover a dead Titan, possibly the source of the unusual energy readings. Near it, they find a monster in resonance with a blade. Vandam explains that when a blade loses its driver, it returns to its core crystal state, eventually resonating with a new driver, but losing all previous memories in the process. They find a fresh core crystal emerging from the Titan. Vandam describes the endless cycle of blades resonating with drivers, forgetting everything when their drivers die, and beginning anew with different drivers, an eternal history beyond mortal understanding. Rex wonders about Pira's previous driver. While treating wounds, they discover Pira has the same injuries as Rex, revealing their life force connection. Unlike normal blades who heal immediately, Pira shares Rex's wounds. Rex vows to protect her as they journey to reach Elysium together. They're confronted by Aegis, who seeks to capture the Aegis. Aegis addresses Nia as a traitor, suggesting she previously worked with him. Vandam recognizes Aegis as part of Tornah, a group known for killing drivers to collect core crystals. Vandam orders evacuation of the village as they prepare to fight. A battle ensues with Aegis, who realizes Pira's current vulnerability. The fight escalates dramatically, with Pira using significant power. After the battle, he notes Pira needs rest after overexerting herself. Vandam philosophizes about justice, explaining that what people call justice is merely an excuse to fight. He suggests there's little difference between him and Aegis. Both have their reasons for fighting. The key is not to avoid using power out of fear, but to protect what matters most. The next morning, Pira feels better after resting. Nia asks Rex to accompany her to speak with Vandam about her past connection to Aegis. Vandam dismisses the importance of Nia's past, saying what matters is who she's with now. Rex explains their goal to reach Elysium, but mentions they're blocked by a monster preventing safe passage. Vandam offers to introduce them to a contact in the Orion capital who might know a way through, providing them new hope for continuing their journey. Two individuals are parting ways at a village entrance. One is instructed to gather their belongings, while the other, referred to as boss, remains behind with someone named Yuzu to take care of the place. There's a sense of destiny about their departure, and despite the circumstance, the boss appears to be in unusually good spirits. A confrontation occurs regarding the Aegis. Someone carrying a heavy burden is challenged by antagonists who demand they yield what they call merchandise. When asked about their identity, Vandam claims not to know them. The confronter reveals himself as Zeke, also calling himself the Zekinator, and mocks them as rinky-dink, bogus, stupid no-mock drivers. The confrontation with Zeke continues as he summons someone named Tatas but comically goes for his turtle instead. Despite this blunder, Zeke remains confident, threatening to use his super-ultra-mega move. The group dismisses his theatrics, and something unexpected happens during his attempted attack, prompting them to move on from what they consider ridiculous nonsense. The scene shifts to observing numerous warships that look different from normal vessels. There's discussion about how Iranians prefer things natural, contrasting with Ardenians who heavily modify their ships. This difference is noted as possibly contributing to the long-standing conflict between these factions. A character mentions having once carried modifications without complaint. At a government distribution center, resources are rationed on a first-come, first-served basis. An altercation breaks out when a soldier demands supplies meant for a child, claiming his status entitles him to priority. Rex intervenes, despite warnings to stay out of it, stating adults should protect those weaker than themselves rather than just giving orders. The soldier notices a crystal's color, causing alarm. The group realizes rumors about Pira have spread widely, likely through a Nopon merchant. A young girl named Iona appears, greeting Vandam, who recognizes her and asks about her grandfather Cole's health. The response suggests Cole isn't doing well. The group hurries away before soldiers arrive. The group arrives at a theater where the person they're seeking leads a troupe, currently in the middle of a performance titled The Heroic Adventures of Adam. They decide to quietly watch the show. The theater is packed with spectators. For some in the group, this is their first theatrical experience. The play depicts an apocalyptic scenario where darkness engulfs people and titans into an abyssal vortex. A character named Adam, despite being wounded, stands against the darkness. He calls upon the Architect and the Aegis for power. Together, they defeat the darkness, but at a terrible cost. 3 great continents sink beneath the clouds forever. After the play, which awkwardly featured Pira's story, Rex struggles with how to address the situation with her. Meanwhile, Iona enthusiastically discusses the theatrical effects, particularly impressed by how they made cloth move like real clouds. Rex fumbles through the conversation, earning him a light reprimand from a companion. The group meets with an older man referred to as Old Fella, who collects items others might consider junk. It's revealed he and Vandam were once freelancers who fought together, though Vandam's compassionate nature often prevented them from getting paid. The old man now works with the theater troupe. A group asks Cole, the older man, about accessing the World Tree and reaching Elysium. Cole recognizes Pira's core crystal and expresses surprise that someone so young is her driver. He explains that while no one can currently reach the tree due to something guarding the way, long ago a man successfully climbed it and met the architect. Cole requests a private conversation with Pira before revealing information about the man who reached Elysium. During their talk, it becomes clear Cole wrote the play they watched. He apologizes for potentially stirring painful memories and explains he wanted to authentically portray their past experiences to modern audiences. Cole, whose real name is revealed to be Mineth, asks Pira if she intends to use her power again. Expressing concern about whether the world could withstand it a second time, Pira assures him she would never use it unless absolutely necessary. Cole notes that Rex reminds him of someone from the past, possibly himself. Cole falls ill during their conversation, and his granddaughter shows concern. Despite his condition, he asks them to return the next day for something he wants to give them. As the group departs, they're offered a place to rest for the night. After the group leaves, individuals named Malos and Abrona confront Cole. They offer to fix his deteriorating ether flow, suggesting he could live much longer, but clearly wants something in exchange. Cole dismisses their offer, stating he's not as attached to life as he once was and that the children in his care are strong enough to handle his passing. A hidden listener is discovered and revealed to be Iona. Malos suggests they can help Cole if Iona helps them first, manipulating her concern for her grandfather. Later, when the group returns, they discover Iona has been kidnapped by Malos and a man with red glasses identified as Akos. The group also discovers Pira is missing. They deduce she likely went alone to save Iona after realizing what happened. Cole identifies their likely destination as Olethro Ruins, the place where Adam led his resistance army 500 years ago and where the Aegis awakened. Malos is attempting to lure Pira there. At Olethro Ruins, Malos confronts Pira, criticizing her current form. She demands to know Iona's whereabouts, and Malos mentions that someone named Akos has her. The confrontation reveals tension between them and sets the stage for a potential conflict over Iona's freedom. A tense confrontation is taking place. The antagonist suggests they should have sent a finger as a warning, implying they are after something specific. There's mention of someone named Jen, who apparently exists for another's benefit. The conversation escalates with someone saying, "Let's end this." Riggs reports being okay, but mentions Pira is fighting alone, though making progress. A defiant opponent confronts a girl, questioning if she can handle that power without her driver. The girl responds confidently, suggesting the opponent doesn't know who they're dealing with. Someone assures they'll handle the enemies. The conflict intensifies as a Bona is commanded to do them in. An antagonist admits enjoying their role in this tale, then explains how blades draw power from atmospheric ether energy, sending it to crystals where it manifests. The villain interrupts the power flow, causing weapons to drain. Someone can't transfer power, leaving Pira alone. The antagonists reveal they want the Aegis's power for themselves and mention Jin's desire to erase all humankind, which surprises others. The antagonist criticizes humanity, pointing to the capital's weapons and soldiers poised to invade Mor Ardain. They claim humans haven't changed in 500 years, suggesting their father abandoned them for good reason. They believe their purpose is to eliminate these pests. A strange power emanates from someone's blood as they channel energy from their weapon through their body. The battle continues, with someone drawing power from an unknown source, with things intensifying. A power called foresight is explained as a prediction of immediate future events, allowing one to read movements, find openings, and counter. Despite this ability, there seems to be no way to break their opponent's link or defeat them. The true power of the Aegis is revealed, bringing back memories for someone who has waited to see it again. They greet someone named Mithra, suggesting her return. A philosophical moment occurs discussing how bodies may die but souls continue, flowing onward in the great ether stream. A discussion follows about burying someone named Vandam, where he fell, following mercenary tradition. Someone consoles another, saying Vandam's death wasn't their fault as the attackers would have found them eventually. They express gratitude that Vandam saved their lives. Someone pledges to fight their own war with Pira, remembering Vandam's words. The group questions Pira about calling herself Mithra and the extraordinary power she displayed. They wonder if this is the true power of the Aegis, and feel she owes them an explanation. Someone tries to prevent pressuring Pira. Mithra appears resentful about being awakened, stating she left everything to Pira to avoid using that power again. She blames someone for being useless, forcing her to use her power despite Vandam's warning to run. The blamed person admits knowing they acted foolishly but explains they couldn't hand Pira over and wanted to keep her safe. Mithra departs abruptly, leaving Pira to explain things. Pira explains that she and Malos are Aegises, blades with power that could destroy the world. She tells a story of a man who climbed the world tree to Elysium, found it empty, and brought back two core crystals, Malos and herself. The man awakened Malos, who used his power destructively. Pira was awakened by a driver determined to stop Malos. Their battle resulted in 3 great titans falling before Pira defeated Malos and sealed herself away, taking her current form. These events occurred 500 years ago. The man who awakened Mithra was Adam, hero of Tornah Kingdom. Adam fought as Mithra's driver to protect the world from Malos. The Titans also participated in that battle, fulfilling their calling to live alongside humanity. Adam hid Pira's sleeping body in a ship that was sunk to the Cloud Sea's floor to prevent power abuse. The speaker believes fate brought them together, otherwise Mithra wouldn't have awakened. Pira refers to Mithra as her sister. Pira explains they promised when awakened to return to the real Elysium and fulfill their purpose of defeating Malice again. She apologizes for Mithra's behavior, explaining Mithra broke her seal to protect someone. Someone reassures Pira it wasn't her fault and expresses gratitude for her protection and incredible powers. They know Pira apologizes frequently due to guilt about the Aegis's power, but wants to help her move past that. They recall Vandam's words that power depends on the wielder's heart, suggesting Pira's power is meant to protect and keep everyone safe. They promise to become a driver who can protect Pira, citing the third rule of the Salvager Code about making girls smile. The conversation shifts to dinner plans, with meatball pot on the menu. Someone observes that Rex never loses his smile, which keeps everyone going, and compares him to Adam. A dagger is presented with instructions to take it to Indol, where its owner can provide directions to Elysium. The dagger belongs to a blade named Cole, who fought in the Aegis War, but whose real name is Minolf. Cole is revealed to be a flesh eater, a blade fused with human cells. This was part of ancient experiments attempting to create blades with unique powers, though most experiments failed. Cole gained nothing and lost his immortality. Cole, knowing he won't live much longer, wants to see where their path ends. He offers the dagger to aid them. In return, someone asks Cole to write a play about Vandam to inspire people, promising to return once Elysium is found. They plan their route to Indol via Argentum, then by ship to Mor Ardain and on to the Praetorium. As a salvager, Rex can board guild ships for free and will negotiate for his companions. Upon returning to Argentum, Rex is greeted warmly by locals. The group prepares to depart the next day. Someone enjoys the tea and quality goods available in Argentum, planning to have another cup before leaving. Another expresses relief at resting in a proper inn after their long voyage. An awkward situation occurs in someone's room, with accusations of staring and perversion. Comments are made about someone exposing a lot of skin, with another retorting about appearances. The next morning, Pira apologizes for Mithra's confusion upon waking. Someone clarifies they weren't worried about their own actions, but about Mithra's, noting she apparently threw something in her confusion. After a minor injury is addressed, the focus shifts to a romantic moment, briefly interrupted by action. Morag and Bridget have returned from an assignment reporting on an Aegis and a young salvager. Emperor Niall welcomes them back warmly, expressing interest in meeting the salvager. Reports emerge of an attack on a transport vessel carrying core crystals, likely orchestrated by a masked man named Jin. This marks the third such incident, with Barian vessels also suffering damage. The Emperor reassures Morag that releasing the Tornah captive was justified, as even an army of 5,000 might not have stopped Jin. More pressing issues arise as the Senate has independently resumed excavation in the delicate Judicium region, led by the pro-war faction under Senator Roderick. The loss of core crystals has made them restless. This action risks provoking Uraya, and the Emperor counts on his sister to take action if necessary. Rex notices Rock's core crystal glowing. He learns that core crystals regenerate after a while, ready to be reawakened by a new driver. Though hesitant to take Vandam's former blade, Rex prepares to leave for their ship. Before departing, a young Mahdi thief steals Rock's core crystal. The group pursues the thief, borrowing a ship from Garum to chase after him. They track the boy to Uman's workshop where they confront him. Despite the boy's resistance, they recover the stolen core crystal. They discover the thief is part of a group of children seeking revenge for their destroyed village. The children reveal bandits attacked their village Cordell simply because it had water. The leader, Reese, explains they plan to awaken the blade for revenge. The children also reveal the bandits are now planning to attack Torragoth while the consul is away. The group decides to intervene. Rex instructs Reese to warn the guards while they head to confront the bandits at Twin Trunks Hill. Encountering an obstruction similar to one they saw earlier with Vandam, Rex awakens Rock's core crystal. The newly awakened blade, Rock, clears the path, curious about his former driver, Vandam. The group confronts the bandits, who are numerous and have blades of their own. Rex emphasizes they aren't there to kill anyone. After defeating the bandits, the authorities arrive as planned, taking the criminals into custody. The group arrange this by having the children alert the guards. Rex convinces Garum to take the orphaned children under his wing as salvagers in training, offering them bed and board until they prove themselves. The children are grateful for this opportunity, giving them a new start after losing their village. The group arrives at the imperial capital, an impressively large city. Tornah hopes to find parts for upgrading Poppy. They encounter Moi, who recognizes Tornah as the pupil of Professor Susu. Tornah initially doesn't remember him, but Moi isn't offended, noting Tornah was preoccupied with upgrading Poppy, an artificial blade created from blueprints. The group discovers that Susu's body was found, but Professor Tatazo is missing. Moi offers them a stay at a friend's inn with famous hot springs, promising to get them a discount. The hot springs provide blissful relief from their journey's fatigue. During their bath, questions arise about Poppy being in water, but she explains she's made from a special alloy that doesn't rust. Pira and Mithra switch forms, revealing they can change control whenever needed as their memories are shared. Mithra asks to remain in control temporarily to help Rex adjust to using her stronger but more limited powers. Rex agrees, noting differences between Pira and Mithra's personalities. Despite recent difficulties, Rex maintains his characteristic optimism. The group spots a girl who resembles Poppy. Tornah identifies her as Lila, an artificial blade that his father Tatazo and Grandpipan Susu were creating. They follow an ether furnace reading, but Lila escapes before they can reach her. Tornah explains that he, Susu, and Tatazo created artificial blades because none of them had driver potential. After attackers came for Lila, Tornah fled with blueprints and an ether furnace, eventually creating Poppy while hiding in Torragoth. The group is confused about Lila's appearance in the Empire, especially since she wasn't completed when the lab was attacked. This suggests Professor Tatazo might still be alive and held captive by whoever is using Lila. Imperial soldiers, led by Lady Morag, confront the group, mistaking Poppy for Lila. A battle ensues where Rex and Pira Mithra demonstrate their ability to switch forms mid-combat. The fight ends when Nira from the Argentine Guild confirms they're not the culprits. Morag apologizes and proposes they work together to capture Lila and find the criminals as their goals align. The group agrees to this alliance, with Morag recognizing the Aegis's power and expressing interest in witnessing something extraordinary by staying with them. They discover an abandoned factory that might be connected to Lila and Tatazo. Morag shares information about an esteemed Nopon merchant potentially involved in the affair, possibly Chairman Bona. The group agrees to investigate, while Morag prepares troops. Zeke reappears, calling himself the Bringer of Chaos and other grandiose titles. He claims his eye patch conceals the powerful Eye of Shining Justice. Despite the group's attempts to avoid a confrontation, another battle ensues. After the confrontation with Zeke, the group discovers a facility where ether furnaces are being mass-produced. They learn that the first 1,000 units will be sold to Tornah, revealing a connection between this operation, someone from the Imperial Senate named Roderick, and information about core ships that Lila stole. A group is discussing war profiteering, suggesting they wait for conflict with Uraya to drive up prices. They reveal they are manufacturing artificial blades. In a factory, someone threatens Professor Tatazo, demanding faster production or facing consequences. Tatazo suggests reducing neural circuit loads to improve efficiency. The group discovers this is indeed Taurus Datapon Tatazo, leading to an emotional reunion between them. The reunion is interrupted when it's revealed Muimui deliberately lured them to the factory to see Poppy's artificial blade. After defeating enemies, they learn Muimui betrayed Tatazo and sold information to a guild, resulting in Grampipon's death. Chairman Bana appears, revealing himself as the mastermind, planning to steal the ether furnace to produce better artificial blades for profit. He intends to sell the Aegis and other artificial blades to Tornah. A battle ensues between Poppy and Lila, another artificial blade. Tatazo explains Lila is his treasure and reminder of Professor Susu. During the confrontation, Lila begins to remember her true master. Meanwhile, Bona escapes as the facility begins shaking. Poppy demonstrates incredible power by merging with Lila, who sacrifices herself to save their sister blades and fully ignite Poppy's ether furnace. The group confronts Bona, demanding he stop producing artificial blades. When threatened with the Imperial Army, Bona agrees. Suddenly, drivers from Tornah appear, including Petroka and Mikhail, who recognize Nia as a traitor. They attempt to capture the Aegis, but are defeated after a coordinated attack inside the building. The Tornah agents retreat aboard their ship, the Minoceros. A mysterious woman appears who seems connected to Indol. Flashbacks show training sessions between Adam, Mithra, and other companions, including Jin. A messenger interrupts with news of a threat to the capital. An envoy from the Indoline Praetorium approaches Rex, requesting an audience with Prater Amalthus. The envoy reveals Amalthus is Malos' driver and the original owner of Cole's Dagger. Being Indoline, Amalthus' exceptionally long lifespan explains how he could be Cole's driver from long ago. The group considers this invitation, which might provide access to the World Tree. Mithra appears to have recognized a connection since meeting Cole. Mithra and her companions are discussing their need to meet with the Praetor Amalthus. They encounter a blade named Fan Lenorn, who serves as Amalthus's blade. Mithra seems to recognize Fan, but Fan doesn't remember her. After their encounter, Mithra notices something unusual about Fan's core crystal, indicating it's not a normal resonance. Adding another question to ask the Praetor, a group discovers that Mor Ardain is conducting an excavation in Temperantia, revealing what appears to be a Judicium Titan weapon. Judicium was destroyed during the Aegis War and was the place where flesh-eaters were created. The group debates whether to destroy the weapon or use it themselves. Hatraka reports to Jin that they successfully acquired some goods, but had to flee when they encountered a female blade from Indol named Hayes. The group discusses their plans, including work on the Marsanis and tracking the Aegis, who appears to be heading toward Indol. Gin decides to go to Temperantia alone, while others stay behind to work on what they acquired from a guild. The main group arrives at the Lethurian archipelago. With Indol positioned beyond a cloud ridge, they decide to travel overland, and Rex reveals this is his home region. He grew up in Fonset village. They decide to visit Rex's village on their journey as it offers one of the safest routes forward. The group traverses a natural tunnel through the clouds, formed by the forces between multiple smaller titans clustered around a larger one. They observe local children cloud diving, which Rex explains is how locals learn to swim in the cloud sea, a skill that helped in his salvaging career. He playfully offers to teach Nia, who refuses fearfully. A separate scene shows military officials discussing a refitted weapon using Ardanian technology. They mention addressing safety concerns following an explosion 3 months prior by running a sedative drip through a Titan's fluid and encasing parts in composite steel. One official expresses distaste for Judicium's flesh-eater technology. Rex and his companions arrive at Fonset village, where they're warmly welcomed by Auntie Corinne and the local children. Rex reunites with children he knows, learning one will be going to school in Indol thanks to money Rex has been sending. The group plans to stay for the night. Rex takes Pira to visit his parents' graves. He explains he became a driver and introduces Pira as his partner, telling his parents they're going to Elysium together. This moment reveals Rex's emotional connection to his past and his hope for the future. While helping with dishes, Pira learns from Corinne that Rex wasn't born in Fonset. He arrived as a 2-year-old with his dying mother after losing their home. His father's body was found nearby. Corinne explains Rex became a salvager to find a way to Elysium. This revelation makes Pira question whether she should remain with Rex, fearing she might cause him more suffering. A heartfelt conversation reveals that someone called Pirate is reassured they're not alone anymore. Rex is described as dependable and strong. The person encourages Rex to work hard and do his best, which he promises to do. An encounter with someone named Shallot occurs. Shallot has been waiting for 3 days to challenge and test the skills of the group. Despite initial reluctance to engage, a confrontation begins when Shallot notes that the Flamebringer won't be helping this time. A rare opportunity to witness impressive swordsmanship unfolds. The challenger wants to see if the Aegis lives up to its reputation. During the fight, it's revealed that Mithra's power is reserved only for fighting bad guys. The challenger seems impressed by their abilities. After the test, they're granted permission to enter the Praetorium. The challenger reveals working for Indol as a special envoy tasked with keeping an eye on the Aegis. An audience with the Praetor is scheduled for the following day, and the group is offered a chance to explore Indol in the meantime. While exploring, they encounter anti-blade protesters with signs reading "No more blades, no more war." The Praetorium controls the distribution of core crystals to other nations, effectively giving them power over war itself. Many Gormati refugees who fled war 10 years ago remain displaced despite being provided basic necessities. Rex points out that Mor Ardain's Titan is dying, explaining their need for Gormat's resources to support their large population. The conversation shifts to Rex seeking Elysium, with acknowledgement of his youth, yet respect for his determination despite just stumbling forward. A conversation with Morag reveals her interest stems from curiosity about Adam, a legendary hero from 500 years ago who was Aegis's driver. She believes people with great power should be their own masters rather than under imperial control, suggesting this is why she hasn't tried to stop their journey. The group is shown to their lodgings in the inner Praetorium, with their audience with the Praetor confirmed for the next day. Later, Rex asks Pira about Adam and learns he was considered an incredible, courageous person whom Rex apparently resembles. The next morning, Nia teases Rex about a potential crush on someone named Fan. Fan shows them a mural depicting the creation of Alrest, revealing she lacks memories of her past despite knowing she existed when the mural was painted. She wonders if Mithra, who called her Haze, might know about her past. A character shows a diary containing details of their past lives, explaining that Blades' minds are wiped clean when they return to core crystals. Despite eternal life as Blades, their individual lifespans are effectively shorter than humans. They advise being honest with Rex about everything, suggesting fear of rejection shouldn't prevent truth. The group finally meets Prater Amalthus, who surprises them by appearing younger than expected. Amalthus considers Rex an equal, as they are both Aegis drivers. Rex returns something that belonged to Amalthus, received from Cole. Rex explains their quest to reach Elysium to save Alrest, believing it must be real. The conversation begins with a figure admitting they once shared similar ambitions to climb the world tree, but didn't find Elysium or the architect, believing themselves unworthy. This person offers to help Rex on his quest, introducing herself as Pira and requesting a moment alone to reminisce. The group discusses Old Man Cole's surprising connection to the Praetor. When someone expresses concern about Pira being alone, they're dismissed since the Prater poses no threat. However, one person experiences a strange sensation, momentarily feeling like they were talking to someone named Malice instead of the Prater. Others explain this sensation might be due to the influence drivers have on their blades during resonance, potentially heightened by the bond with Pira. The conversation shifts to a 1,500-year-old painting that has never needed repair, leading to philosophical musings about whether society is progressing or regressing. Someone expresses surprise at how little the Indol has changed over time. The Indol explains they're a driver of an Aegis, which keeps them youthful. When questioned about why they're allowing access to a previously restricted area, they express hope that someone can reach the architect to save the dying world. The scene shifts to discussing flesh-eater technology that has remained intact for centuries. A political development emerges when it's revealed Senator Roderick secretly visited the Praetorium, potentially making covert deals regarding an excavation in Temperantia. An urgent situation arises in the demilitarized zone between Mor Ardain and Uraya. Fighting has broken out, with Mor Ardain possessing a Titan weapon advancing toward the Urayan garrison. This seems impossible as it contradicts the Emperor's will, prompting an investigation led by Special Inquisitor Morag. Investigation reveals Senator Roderick violated the Emperor's orders by restarting excavations, though he denies ordering attacks on Uraya. The driver of the Aegis arrives, recognized from rumors about incidents including a costly water tower repair, making them infamous rather than famous. The group suspects a third party might be orchestrating the conflict, potentially Jin and Tornah, who would benefit from war between the nations. Despite Morag initially refusing outside help, Rex offers assistance, viewing this as their problem too if Tornah's involved. The group heads to Temperantia, where a weaponized Titan is leading the attack. Fan Lenorn joins them, believing her power affecting Titans will be useful. Upon arrival, they witness the devastation and formulate a plan to stop the Titan by severing its energy cables. They learn the Titan weapon is extremely dangerous, powered by unstable vaporized Titan fluids that could cause a massive explosion if disturbed. Despite this challenge, they develop a plan to jump onto the Titan's back from a cliff. Fan Lenorn helps by temporarily stopping the Titan's movement. The group encounters Jin, leader of Tornah. Fan Lenorn attempts to bring him into custody as an envoy of Prater Amalthus. Jin cryptically references Fan's unknown identity and questions the Aegis's involvement. It's revealed Jin was once the strongest blade in Tornah before its fall. Jin blames the Aegis for sealing herself away, suggesting this caused someone's loss. Despite Fan Lenorn's ability to restrict blade powers, Jin remains partially mobile due to his exceptional strength. The confrontation escalates as Jin questions why blades are granted power, yet doomed never to remember. Memories allow life to grow and evolve. Though blades lose their memories when returning to core crystals, humans pass on their memories through generations, allowing cultural growth. Indol controls core crystals, effectively enslaving blades and preventing them from developing their own culture. Blades embody the very nature of the world, though the meaning of this statement remains unclear. The speaker suggests that seeing humanity's last state would provide understanding, but warns that the journey ends here, implying an imminent confrontation. Malos has sent someone to intervene, allowing for an escape. The situation involves blade weapons and energy remaining in a core. Despite attempts to prevent escape, the messenger departs, leaving confusion in their wake. Someone laments their weakness despite becoming a driver with their own blade, feeling that nothing has changed and they remain as powerless as before. Meanwhile, A military conflict is brewing as forces believe they were illegally attacked without declaration of war. With tensions escalating, both Mor Ardain and Uraya are readying artillery. Despite doubts about making it in time, there's determination to reach Uraya to prevent further conflict. The situation appears increasingly desperate. A flashback reveals someone stole a valuable core crystal from a castle, taking 3 years to acquire it. A character named Jin promises protection, showing the beginning of an important relationship that connects to current events. Jin and another character discuss dreams and risk-taking. The second character questions their own identity and desires, wondering if their hunger and thirst are truly their own. They reflect on the blurring line between humans and blades. A ceasefire has been called with Prater Amalthus personally present at a tribunal. Soldiers express frustration about the situation, feeling like pawns in a larger political game where their sacrifices go unrecognized by leadership. Amalthus thanks Queen Rakura and Emperor Nile for agreeing to a ceasefire. Despite the Praetorium typically remaining neutral in wars, Amalthus intervenes, bringing representatives from the Argentum Trade Guild and the Crown Prince of Tantal to ensure impartiality. Some observers note the opportunity to eliminate gathered world leaders, but decide to wait until the path to the World Tree opens. Their ultimate goals involve more than just wiping out mankind. They seek to kill the architect as well. Emperor Nile acknowledges that Mor Ardain weaponry was discharged against Uraya, but avoids accepting complete blame, offering compensation while investigations continue. Queen Rakura questions this approach, suggesting blame has already been established. The truth emerges that a terrorist group received military supplies from ex-chairman Bona. More shocking is the revelation that the Aegis Malos, thought destroyed centuries ago, is alive. Evidence includes the presence of another Aegis named Mithra. While discussions continue among world leaders, concerns grow about Mithra's extended absence. Meanwhile, someone observes that Malos seems damaged and cannot use his full powers, possibly due to wounds from a previous battle. If Malos returns to Elysium and heals completely, he could restore his powers fully. His goal is the complete destruction of humanity, apparently driven by instinct rather than reason. Prater Amalthus reveals he was once Malos's driver. Mithra acknowledges not fully trusting Amalthus, but recognizes their paths will cross if Rex continues to Elysium. She questions who Amalthus lives for, suggesting deeper motivations behind his actions. A state funeral is held for Fan, whose death is unusual since blades typically revert to core crystals upon death. Investigation reveals Fan's core crystal changed shape differently than expected during sharing, suggesting someone stole part of her core. Someone demonstrates cleansing core crystals to increase resonance success rates. This power awakened when they became an Aegis driver, suggesting special abilities connected to the Aegis. A special envoy to Tantal examines a map of the world of Alrest, which consists of titans circling the world tree. A great void, created 500 years ago by a monstrous beast called Ophion, prevents access to the world tree. Ophion is revealed to be an artifice serving Mithra, though it attacked them previously. It was defeated in an ancient battle with Malos, but was revived by Tantal with orders to prevent anyone from approaching the world tree, creating the Great Void as a barrier. Mankind is regressing technologically. Only one artifact remains that can cancel Ophion's orders, and it's located in Tantal. This artifact represents the key to reaching the world tree and potentially confronting Malos. Bielmade of Fetter, a relic guarded by the royal family of Tantal, has become our next objective. we've received envoy documents to embark on a mission to Elysium before Malice and his group can obtain the Omega Fetter themselves. This journey represents hope for the future in this dying world. We'll be traveling to Tantal by ship with Sheladieu, who promises to be a fantastic ally despite Zeke's jokes about potential shipwrecks. Zeke reveals that the people of Tantal are descendants of Adam, the hero who escaped Tornah's destruction 500 years ago. This historical connection is symbolized in the royal family's sigil. The Prater explains that he awakened Haze because her power was useful in defending Indol against Tornah's attacks. When questioned about why Tornah uses the name of a dead country, he suggests it might be due to Jin's loyalty and nostalgia, as Jin was once a blade of Tornah. Political tensions are high, with an official summit being held between Mor Ardain and Uraya. Despite Prater Amalthus's intervention in their recent conflict, Uraya prefers to maintain distance from Indol to avoid appearing submissive to the Praetor's influence. The summit discussions include shared sovereignty over Gormont, which will require an imperial decree to bypass Senate approval. Meanwhile, acting chairman Nira interrupts with an emergency, suggesting trouble is brewing during these delicate negotiations. As we prepare to leave for Tantal, there's reluctance to depart without Morag, who is preoccupied with official duties. Just as we discuss this, Morag herself appears with concerning news about an assassination plot targeting the summit, which could trigger war between nations. Morag requests our help to covertly prevent the assassination, as mobilizing the army would make the threat public. She reveals that Bona, the former chairman, may be involved and that giant weapons from his factory are unaccounted for. We agree to help, while Morag focuses on her diplomatic duties. In a humorous misunderstanding, we discover that the suspected assassins are actually renowned chefs hired by Papunin for the summit. Our mistake creates an awkward situation, requiring compensation for the disruption we caused. The real threat emerges with Queen Rakora's arrival. Bona, the unseated chairman of the Argentum Guild, attempts an assassination. During the confrontation, Niall Ardnak intervenes to protect others, suffering severe injuries when Aegion is returned to his core. Nia manages to heal Niall, saving him from certain death. This miraculous recovery leaves everyone, especially Morag, deeply grateful. The Emperor issues new orders for Morag to travel with our group as an emissary of the Empire. Despite Morag's initial reluctance to leave the Emperor's side, he insists that she follow her heart and use her power to help create a better world. He reminds her of their childhood at Lake Hotel and expresses his vision for a peaceful Alrest. Morag finally accepts her new assignment. Political concerns remain about the Praetorium's control over blade distribution. With natural awakening rates being low, Indol's cleansing is necessary to create drivers. However, the awakening of the Aegis remains the central issue while nations continue their territorial disputes. The situation is extremely precarious, with concerns that Uraya could sink to the Cloud Sea's bed if mishandled. Emperor Niall has sent Morag to guide them, an act of unexpected selflessness that has placed others in their debt. For now, troops should remain mobilized while monitoring developments, as Tantal is unlikely to easily comply with the Praetor's plan. During a casual conversation, Zeke asks which of the two forms, Pira or Mithra, is preferred. This prompts a discussion about their distinct personalities, with Mithra described as intense and Pira as mellow yet stubborn. As their driver, there's a deep understanding of both aspects of their character, recognizing they are fundamentally the same person despite outward differences. Zeke's background as a prince from Tantal who spent time in the Praetorium is revealed. His blade explains that Zeke was disowned by his father at age 15 for repeatedly leaving Tantal's strictly isolationist borders. The Praetor found him half dead and took him in, creating his special Ensway position, which now enables his return to Tantal on official business. The group reaches their coordinates and the Titan Genbu begins surfacing. Meanwhile, discussions in Tantal reveal awareness that the prince has made contact with the Aegis in Indol. There's concern about Prater Amalthus making a move after 500 years, with Tantal's leadership resolving to protect their peace, even if it cannot last. Genbu is described as a larger version of Turters, normally submerged in the Cloud Sea. The interior is extremely cold, but Pira and others can provide warmth through infrared radiation. The party notices that Genbu's ether lines are unusually dim, explaining the Titan's poor circulation, cold climate, and poor agricultural conditions. The architecture resembles ancient civilizations. Zeke explains that Tantal's people carry the proud blood of Tornah, an advanced civilization known for engineering prowess, while Judicium excelled in biological arts. Despite this noble heritage, Tantal struggles with practical issues of survival. The market reveals Tantal's economic struggles. Due to the cold climate, local produce is scarce, forcing reliance on expensive smuggled goods from other nations. Most shops are empty, with authorities turning a blind eye to black market activities since they're necessary for survival. The country's resources are consumed merely by surviving, weakening it despite its ancient wisdom. Upon arriving at the palace, the group encounters the King of Tantal, who unexpectedly orders the capture of the Aegis. The king declares the Aegis must be destroyed to prevent the world from burning. Despite Zeke identifying himself as a special envoy for Mor Ardain, the king proceeds with his plan, claiming to act for justice and the good of all Alrest. The party is imprisoned in a stasis web that blocks ether energy, preventing drivers and blades from using arts. Rex desperately tries to break free as Pira has been taken away. The others realize brute force won't work, but Zeke maintains faith in Rex's ability to overcome the situation. Torah reveals a crucial advantage. Poppy, being an artificial blade, can generate her own ether energy unaffected by the barrier. Using a crystal transferred from Morag's sword to Poppy's biter, they can execute one powerful art enhanced by elemental synergy. The strategy works, breaking through the door. Zeke and Pandoria appear to help, and the group sets off to rescue Pira from beneath the palace. A conversation reveals a strong bond between a driver and blade, who have sworn to reach Elysium together. Despite numerous injuries described as scratches, the driver sees these as meaningful signs of their special connection. They discover an ether accelerator, similar to one from old Tornah, which appears to be set up to destroy them. Someone referred to as Noble Aegis is confronted by a royal figure who claims they must destroy the Aegis for the world's sake. The royal figure references the Aegis's past disappearance from history, suggesting they once desired the same outcome. The ether accelerator is identified as an ancient weapon powered by Genbu's ether energy, now fully restored and targeting Pira. A revelation about Tantal's history emerges. For 500 years, they concealed the Omega fetter. The royal family admits they are not actually descended from the hero Adam, but rather a cadet branch that claimed power after Tornah's destruction in the Aegis War. They justified this deception as necessary to unite the people under Tantal's banner. The truth about Adam emerges. He didn't simply go missing, but chose not to return after sealing away the Aegis. A message from Adam reveals his intention that the Aegis would return when humanity proved worthy. He viewed this separation as a necessary trial for humans to overcome, suggesting deeper meaning about coexistence between humans and blades. Crisis strikes as Genbu breaks free from control and begins diving into the Cloud Sea. The recent use of the ether accelerator has created a counterflow in Genbu's ether conduits. At the current rate of descent, they have only 3 hours before reaching crushing depths. The only solution is to fix the Omega Fetter located in Genbu's head. Pira volunteers to fix the Omega Fetter, explaining it's originally Ophion's control core, and Ophion is her artifice. Despite Tantal's recent attempt to destroy Pira, the group decides to help save Tantal, explaining they're not doing it for the nation, but out of a greater moral imperative. Zeke offers to lead them to the Fetter's location. The group discusses Tantal's mysterious relationship with the Praetorium and strange history. They speculate about Jin's cryptic reference to the last state of humanity, wondering if he meant humanity's previous state rather than its future evolution. This revelation causes Pira to question whether she should have been sealed away. The group reaches a battleground from the Aegis War with melted floors and walls. Pira explains about artifices, divine weapons sleeping in Elysium that were granted to the Aegis. She admits not knowing why her father created her or the artifices, which is something she hopes to discover in Elysium. They finally reach the Omega Fetter, which resembles a core crystal. Pira confirms it's Ophion's control core that she once used to communicate with her artifice. After fixing it, Genbu begins to rise, saving Tantal from destruction. However, their success is interrupted by an enemy who has been waiting for them to find the Fetter. A tense confrontation unfolds where opponents face each other without their blades. The antagonists reveal they don't need weapons because they have crystals. Someone nicknamed Thunderbolt Zeke enters the fray as combat intensifies. The enemies look forward to interrogating their opponents later. Jin attacks and misses a vital point which is unusual for him. A character named Malice reveals he's just spectating, while Jin has come to settle a score. Jin demands both the Omega Fetter and the Aegis, but is told they won't surrender Pira or Mithra. Jin challenges them to prove their desire through strength rather than words. Jin explains his power controls elementary particles, allowing him to accelerate to light speed. He claims no one can match him, even with predictive abilities. Rex tries to counter by matching light speed with light speed. Jin explains the Aegis's attacks are particle energy that's too heavy to reach true light speed, making them ineffective against him. Jin overpowers Rex, leaving him barely breathing, but intending to take his core crystal. Despite being wounded, Rex refuses to die, insisting he must reach Elysium to find answers. Jin dismisses this, claiming no answers exist in their world. Pira intervenes, offering herself in exchange for sparing the others. When Jin is skeptical, Pira threatens to annihilate herself by controlling Siren's targeting ray through willpower. The ray moves at light speed and can destroy a blade instantly. Jin recognizes he can't counter this and agrees to take Pira to Elysium. Rex objects to Pira's sacrifice, but Jin criticizes him for not noticing how deeply his blade was wounded. Jin calls Rex a pitiful, childish fool, despite having awakened the Aegis. The scene shifts to Prater Amalthus, receiving news that Jin has captured the Aegis. Rex has been unconscious for 2 days, recovering from severe injuries. Upon waking, he declares he's leaving, possibly for Argentum. When confronted about abandoning Pira, Rex admits defeat, saying he's done being the Aegis's driver after repeatedly hurting her and being outmatched by their opponents. Nia harshly reminds Rex that Pira sacrificed herself for him and planned to die to defeat their enemies. As Rex reflects on his promise to take Pira to Elysium, the group prepares to rescue her without him, calling him a loser. Poppy expresses disappointment in seeing Rex give up after one loss. Rex is summoned by a prince, whose father wants to meet him. The king explains Tantal's history, revealing how the kingdom was divided 500 years ago between those who followed Adam, seeking equality with blades and titans, and those who saw humans as masters. Adam's rivals seized power using the Omega Fetter and falsely claimed to be his descendants. The king shows them Genbu's ether flow, explaining how they siphon the Titan's energy to create core chips for tribute to the Praetorium. This process causes Tantal's cold climate and poor harvests. The Praetorium used the arrangement to expand their influence, while Tantal suffered energy shortages and poverty. The king had attempted to neutralize the Aegis to save his people, but now believes Rex might be worthy of wielding her power. A third Aegis sword exists that is transparent as diamond and emits a brilliant light. Despite being the legendary hero, Adam never used this sword because it was too powerful for even him to control. Fearing its immense power, Adam sealed it away. The book's author believes this is the true Aegis sword. After Rex's defeat by Jin, questions arise about whether the Aegis could truly be outmatched by a single opposing blade. The more likely explanation is that Rex has not yet unlocked the true power of the Aegis, suggesting he might be holding Pira and Mithra back from their full potential. The book doesn't specify the third sword's exact location, but reading between the lines suggests it lies somewhere in Letheria. This becomes the starting point for their search to rescue Pira and Mithra. Rex commits to becoming the true driver they deserve and taking them to Elysium. The king asks his son to protect Rex and the Aegis. Meanwhile, discussion reveals that Pira threatened self-destruction to save Rex by transferring her core crystal to replace his damaged heart. The Aegis cores encode blueprints for all life, allowing for this extraordinary connection between them. Jin agreed to Pira's terms because he couldn't risk losing her, not out of concern for Rex. An Aegis can briefly survive without a core crystal, which would have allowed her to transfer the remainder to Rex before destruction, letting him live on with a complete heart. Fonset Village, also known as Hero's Rest, was founded by Adam himself. He charged the village guardian with protecting something important hidden there. A hidden passage leads to the spirit crucible Elpis at the center of the archipelago, sealed in a way that only a Letharian can open. Adam hid the legendary third sword deep within the Titan, forming the archipelago's center. Many have entered the spirit crucible seeking the sword, but none have returned. Adam implemented measures to ensure only someone worthy could claim it, declaring that taking this sword would mark the Aegis's true driver. Jin plans to extract missing data from the Aegis core to restore his own power. If she's lucky, she might survive as an empty husk. Jin believes only one Aegis is needed in this world and seeks answers from their creator about why they were made this way. The spirit crucible Elpis saps the strength of blades. Glowing particles absorb ether, weakening blades to the point they might be forced to return to their core state, possibly never to be reawakened. Artificial blades like Poppy remain unaffected, making her vital for the journey ahead. Zeke reveals he has part of Pandoria's core crystal in his heart from a time he nearly died. The Indoline people, with roots tracing back to Judicium, performed experiments fusing blade and human cells, creating flesh-eaters. This procedure saved Zeke's life, but made him susceptible to the spirit crucible's effects. The group explores what appears to be an unnatural formation, possibly visited by Jin and accomplices searching for something Adam hid. They speculate about a sunken ship and a third sword. Despite the possibility that others reach the location first, they believe the sword wouldn't be easily found. The team takes a break during their journey. Rex is eager to continue, but the others insist on resting. Poppy suggests cooling the furnace, and Rex teaches a Salvager breeding technique that helps with recovery. This leads to a conversation about their upbringings. Nia reveals her past as a high society lady from Gormott. Her father was a lord who spent his fortune trying to cure her frail sister. After losing his position, they became drifters. Her sister died, followed by her father, leaving Nia with only his memento, Dromark. Nia continues her story, explaining how she and Dromark were pursued by the Praetorium, forcing them to live on the run. Jin eventually took her in, which is why she joined him. Rex encourages Nia to stay true to her feelings, regardless of what troubles her. The group reaches what appears to be a dead end, with a seal identical to one they saw on a ship. Nia reveals herself to be a blade, stating she's no longer burdened by her past or by Jin. She's ready to fight alongside Rex and the others. Rex encounters Adam, who appears as a voice in Elysium. Adam asks what Rex seeks, and Rex explains he wants power to protect those important to him. Adam tells Rex his true strength as a driver comes from accepting his blade's fear and carrying its weight. The group finds the third Aegis sword, but it breaks. Rex realizes the journey wasn't about the sword itself, but something more important. He now understands what must be done and where Pira is located, near a rotting titan by the World Tree. Morag identifies the location as the Cliffs of Moratha, a place no living soul has witnessed. Meanwhile, the Troka and Mikhail prepare the Marsanes for battle, with non-mortal opponents, suggesting an escalating conflict ahead. The group reaches the Cliffs of Moratha, a rotting titan drifting aimlessly. Rex remembers Malos mentioning it as a shortcut to the World Tree. He senses Pira is in trouble and urges everyone to hurry. Meanwhile, something called Ophion is summoned. An earthquake strikes as they approach. They encounter someone expecting them, who mocks Nia for giving up her human act. When Rex asks about Pira's whereabouts, they're told she might be dead, though Rex insists she's alive. A tense confrontation unfolds between antagonists and protagonists. Someone claims to be reclaiming what was stolen from them, while threatening that the heroes will never see a female character again. The antagonist mocks a character named Rex, referring to him dismissively as a salvager from Argentum who dares to challenge them. Despite the taunting, Rex and companions stand defiant, refusing to lose to their opponent. The antagonist wields a power called malice that can destroy anything it touches, capable of severing limbs or decapitating opponents. This creates panic among the heroes, who wonder what they can do against such a devastating power. A character named Nia steps forward, revealing she should have used her own power earlier, but was afraid of returning to her past. Nia acknowledges that lives were lost because of her fear, but someone taught her not to be afraid anymore. She now understands her life has purpose. While the enemy's power destroys through malice, Nia's power can heal as long as her friends maintain the will to live. She reveals she can heal any wound inflicted, including damage to blade weapons, as they were born from beings like her and can be healed just the same. The antagonist finds Nia's healing abilities annoying but remains confident, taunting that healing is useless if they can't inflict damage. When challenged about her lack of offensive capabilities, Nia reveals her true power with Rex's assistance. She demonstrates an ability to alter cell replication rates, explaining that even immortal blades are made of the same cellular material as other beings, which she uses to her advantage. It's revealed that a character named Jin recruited Nia because he recognized her power. When questioned about it, Nia suggests asking Jin directly, declaring her rightful place is with her companions. The scene shifts to another character named Pira, who appears to have been compromised. Jin claims to be reclaiming what was stolen from him 5 centuries ago. A powerful entity known as an Aegis appears, warning not to be underestimated. It's revealed that Pira betrayed herself by forming a bond with a human, desperately trying to hold on to memories before they were stolen. The antagonist mockingly offers her now empty husk to the heroes. Rex apologizes to Pira and another character named Mithra, lamenting that they've come so far only to fail. The antagonist is surprised by Rex's composed reaction, expecting him to charge recklessly. Rex admits his stupidity in not understanding Pira and Mithra's feelings. Despite walking together, he realizes he was actually in the shadow of the Aegis's light while she walked alone. This realization leads Rex to a decisive moment where he declares he will crush his opponent and take Pira and Mithra to a place called Elysium. The antagonist scoffs at Rex's determination, reminding him that he couldn't defeat Jin alone, and that they've regained control of their Aegis powers and artifacts. Undeterred, Rex explains he now understands what Pira and Mithra wanted and what it means to be driver and blade. He rallies his companions for one final effort to rescue Pira and reach Elysium. The battle continues with the antagonist expressing irritation at the hero's abilities. Jin reveals his true power involving absolute zero temperature, which neutralizes even powerful regenerative abilities. The companions coordinate their attacks against the vulnerable enemies. Despite their efforts, the fight appears to reach a stalemate. Pira and Mithra speak to Rex, explaining their power has only brought pain and would be better not existing. They reveal their intention to reach Elysium was to beg their father to let them die, asking Rex to abandon them. Rex refuses, stating he cannot stand by and watch someone he loves suffer. He reaffirms his promise to reach Elysium together, determined to find their place in the world and see what future awaits. A powerful transformation occurs, revealing Pira and Mithra's true power, which astonishes their opponents. The transformed Aegis faces their enemy, who asks to be finished off. The Aegis explains they don't want to fight, only to reach Elysium, but are told this won't happen due to conflicting goals. The antagonist reveals their purpose: to destroy humanity, the world, and finally an entity called the Architect. They identify themselves as an Aegis created by the Architect to erase existence, the ultimate weapon called the Endbringer. Their goal in reaching Elysium is to awaken an ultimate artifice called Ion. Pira counters that their father doesn't want destruction, insisting the antagonist is mistaken. A quiet, introspective moment occurs where characters discuss the sound of their heart, wondering if it has stopped yet feeling something still ringing out. This realization prompts them to reunite with Rex. The scene transitions to Mithra awakening with Rex, who has been watching over her. They realize they've fallen beneath the cloud sea to a place Salvagers call the land of Mithra. Rex and Mithra observe they fell from a great height but were saved by a powerful updraft, which they hope also caught their companions. They spot roots of the world tree, believing they might provide a path upward. Rex allows Pira to continue resting inside Mithra, noting she's been through a lot. They begin their journey to find their friends and a way out. Mithra and Rex discuss a person named Adam, whom Rex has met. Adam advised Rex to fight for what he wanted to protect, leading Rex to choose fighting for Pira and Mithra. Mithra has also made a choice not to live in fear. Rex inquires about Mithra's transformed state, learning it represents their true nature, granting not just greater physical strength, but control over artifices. Rex asks which personality exists in the transformed state, learning it's both Pira and Mithra simultaneously. They explain they can transform at will and playfully tease Rex about his preference for their transformed appearance. Their conversation is interrupted by sounds of their companions, prompting them to investigate. They discover Jin, wounded from their previous encounter. Despite Jin being their enemy, Rex decides they can't let him die there. Mithra reluctantly agrees to help, though questioning the wisdom of aiding their adversary. Jin himself is confused by their compassion, unable to understand why they would help an enemy. The group demonstrates effective combat techniques against monsters, emphasizing the need to destroy their core crystals. The group reunites with some of their companions, including Poppy and Gramps, though others remain missing. They can sense the energy signature of Morag's weapons, suggesting she's nearby. The group decides to rest before searching for the others. When questioned about helping Jin, Rex explains he couldn't leave him to die, regardless of their enmity. Mithra uses her power to heal Jin. Jin's healing reveals an astonishing truth. He possesses a human heart, identifying him as a flesh-eater. Jin is surprised Mithra remembers his name, with Mithra noting he never returned to his crystal. She tells him he's lucky to have been given a second chance, one he denied to many brave Ardanians in the past. A tense confrontation occurs between the group and Jin, who has apparently taken Malos's side. Mithra references their past fight against Malos, questioning why Jin changed allegiances. Jin cryptically suggests the truth would be destructive to know. The group declares they cannot forgive Jin for his actions and warns they will stop him if he continues trying to destroy the world. Jin describes the land of Maratha as a place of extreme wickedness, revealing it was destroyed long before Alrest existed. It's mentioned as the birthplace of the architect according to Malos. Despite their differences, Jin agrees to a temporary ceasefire so they can regroup and climb the world tree together, acknowledging he's too weak to fight them in his current state. Bridget introduces herself to someone who apparently already knows much about her. She questions the truth of her journal and whether she can trust what she wrote in it. The other person indicates the current Bridget is like a completely new blade, different from the one they knew. Bridget accepts this, but still wants to know about her past and the people who were important to her. Poppy, who describes herself as newly born, emphasizes the importance of memories with past drivers, calling them precious and valuable. The conversation confirms someone has officially become a Tauren and driver, with a commitment to creating new memories together moving forward. Poppy observes the technological advancement of the world with its many buildings and people. However, someone counters that despite fancy technology supposedly making life better, it ultimately led to destruction. This prompts existential questions from Poppy about whether she, created by technology, will also destroy the world. Mithra shares similar concerns. A solemn promise is made between Poppy and Mithra. If Poppy ever appears ready to destroy the world, Mithra will intervene as requested. Mithra admits she also fears destroying the world. Their promise is sealed with a ritualistic handshake taught by Master Pond, described as an oath ceremony where they raise their hands together. The group encounters monsters with unusual healing abilities, unlike those in Alrest. Someone points out they heal almost like blades, speculating they might be leftovers from the civilization that created them. This leads to contemplation about the architect and what kind of person he might be, with Mithra having only fragments of memories about him. The ruins of Maratha are harshly described as melted by weapons, representing mankind's hubris. Jin suggests if the architect was born there, he must be as flawed as anyone from Alrest. When questioned about his hatred for the people of Alrest, Jin doesn't directly answer. The group has descended deep, nearly 28,000 peds, approaching the limit of the Cloud Sea. There's concern about abandoning Jin as they continue their journey into Maratha, a land characterized by ruins that one character dismisses as nothing special. The ruins are described as a testament to human hubris, with the suggestion that Alrest will suffer the same fate. There's philosophical questioning about whether Jin's desire to destroy everything is justified. Malos cryptically states that full understanding will come later. The group notices they are at a disadvantage as their adversaries are using a larger vessel. They must hurry to catch up. Gramps confronts Rex about withholding information regarding Jin, explaining he wasn't sure if Rex could handle the truth. He reveals that facing Jin and Malice is an unavoidable fate for Pira and Mithra. Gramps challenges Rex about what burden he's willing to bear for Pira, who sustains his life. Rex confidently affirms he's living for both Pira and Mithra. Satisfied with this answer, Gramps encourages Rex to follow his own path and believe in himself. A royal conversation reveals that Section 47 has been sealed due to surges of geothermal energy in the royal precincts. The deteriorating conditions suggest they cannot hold out much longer, as the Titan's ether flow is increasing in temperature with age. Plans to relocate the capital to Gormod are complicated by political concerns. The royal figure notes that even Gormat's fertility is declining, describing it as a cry from the center of the world. The conversation ends with a wistful question about a sister's whereabouts. The group discovers the Great Void has nearly disappeared since Ophion is gone. Inside the World Tree, they find an artificial tower enveloped by enormous plant life. Pira activates what appears to be an elevator through some instinctive knowledge, realizing Malos likely has the same ability. A conversation reveals that human cells woven into a blade's body awaken strange abilities. Someone mentions keeping a promise despite knowing their loved one, Laura, would disapprove. Gin discusses finding ruins in Maratha where blades couldn't become titans, reflecting on how they were living for humans as ordained by the architect. Rex appears worried, prompting the group to inquire about his concerns. He explains he's thinking about Amalthus, who seems to hate both blades and humans. Rex theorizes that destroying Tornah was equivalent to destroying titans, possibly because blades becoming titans threatened the Praetorium's power. Rex questions where hatred ends when someone despises the entire world, suggesting destruction is the only outcome. He draws parallels between the Praetor and Malos, noting they seem to want the same thing. A brief emotional scene shows someone feeling they failed as a mother. A ship approaches the boundary of the Cloud Sea. Jin and Malos prepare to disembark as the ship cannot proceed past this point. They launch from the vessel, having arrived sooner than anticipated. The group is surprised by the World Tree's interior, which appears man-made by the same civilization as Moratha. They discuss whether the architect truly exists and if they'll find Elysium at the top, acknowledging that even Pira and Mithra have never met him. They resolve to discover the truth for themselves. Mia asks the Blades if they've ever wanted to extend their lives. Most express contentment with their natural cycles and desire to remain with their drivers until the end. Pira admits she once questioned her eternal existence, but now feels grateful for her long life, suggesting she might eventually be happy to rest with someone special. Nia reveals she's a flesh-eater with uncertain lifespan and independence from human bonds. The conversation turns to Gin's refusal to use the collected core crystals to create more flesh-eaters, suggesting he might share similar feelings to their group about the Blade Driver relationship. An explosion interrupts their journey. They discover the World Tree contains glyphs rather than leaves and spot an old Tornah worship. They're shocked to see Indol has modified their Titan with significant firepower, apparently anticipating Gin and Malice's ascent. The group resolves to hurry and prevent them from reaching Elysium. In a tense conversation, Malos tells someone he's come to say goodbye. He reveals he now has full control of his powers and no longer depends on them. Malos expresses contempt for humans and the Praetorium, declaring his intention to eliminate those he deems worthless. Indoline warrior monks approach the Aegis and her driver with orders from His Eminence to use the Aegis's power against the ship. The response is defiant, stating their only duty is to open the way to the World Tree. A conflict emerges over the Aegis, with accusations that someone intended to use Mithra's power for destructive purposes. Despite threats of righteous chastisement for non-compliance, there is resistance to this aggression. A startling interference occurs when Amalthus is revealed to have taken Fan Lenorm's core crystal, using her power to control blades. Amalthus reveals himself as a driver with the power to command all blades, including the ability to dampen the power of half-breeds, This demonstrates how he repelled an earlier attack. Mikhail has created materials that can resist Amalthus's control, providing some hope against his domination. As the group prepares to confront Jin, they face opposition from Amalthus, who insists on destroying Jin and Tornah rather than attempting peaceful resolution. When challenged about events from 500 years ago, Amalthus becomes defensive. The protagonist realizes that as the Aegis driver, they possess equal power to counter Amalthus. A determination forms to stop Amalthus' manipulation of humans and blades, recognizing this isn't the architect's true will. Meanwhile, Melos prepares to activate Ion while Jin and others hold position. As tension builds, a massive energy release from a Titan creates a dangerous situation. A Titan releases enormous energy from its chest, causing a ship to veer off course. There is concern about the Ardenian Titan reaching the end of its lifespan. If it releases more ether energy, its joints could collapse under its own weight, creating a catastrophic situation. Amalthus appears to be gathering all Titans in one place, prompting urgent action. Mikhail volunteers to handle the situation alone, claiming he can control everything from his position. He urges his companions to proceed without him, showing unexpected resolve in the face of danger. As Titans converge and danger increases, an evacuation order is issued across the capital, with all available vessels deployed to save as many civilians as possible. The leadership remains behind, prioritizing citizen safety while recognizing the imminent collapse of Mor Ardain. A shocking revelation occurs when Mikhail identifies himself as a blade eater, similar to Amalthus. He explains he was one of the refugees Amalthus tried to dispose of years ago but survived. This connection to the past intensifies their confrontation as ancient wrongs resurface. The group discovers that destroying glowing pillars weakens Amalthus' control over the Titans. They formulate a plan to get closer to these structures and manipulate the physical laws of their surroundings, effectively freezing time from their perspective to gain tactical advantage in the battle. In a moment of vulnerability, Mikhail expresses his hatred for the world, but admits seeing the protagonists reminds him of people he once loved, causing him to doubt his path. He decides to entrust Jin to the group, encouraging them to pursue and share their answer with him. The scene begins with repeated observations of people struggling to survive. This desperate situation persists across multiple timestamps, suggesting an ongoing crisis or conflict. The atmosphere is tense and filled with a sense of urgency as survival becomes the primary focus for everyone involved. A profound shift occurs as someone returns to their core, awaiting reawakening. They contemplate their identity and whether they will remain the same person after this sleep. Existential questions emerge about their true nature, origin, and destiny. They wish they could ask the architect these fundamental questions about existence. The narrative becomes more intimate as the individual hopes their journal finds its way to someone important. They describe a process of creating a bond with their partner, carving it into flesh. The desolation of their surroundings is emphasized with mention of 90 years having passed. A conversation unfolds where one character appears to almost remember something but dismisses it. Another character expresses disappointment, wishing to learn about who the first person used to be. The first character firmly states their unchanging identity, suggesting resistance to transformation or growth. Jin waits for someone, while Malos has gone ahead. A confrontation develops as Jin wants to see if the world has any will of its own, and which path it would choose. This philosophical standoff centers around power from the architect and its proper use, particularly regarding Elysium. A discussion about awesome power manifests, with debate about its source and purpose. One character argues humans will corrupt Elysium just as they did with Tornah 500 years ago. The conversation explores what happens after death, suggesting both humans and blades pass on their memories and thoughts to others. A nature of blades becoming titans is revealed as part of the world's cycle. One character expresses envy toward blades and wishes to ask the architect why he created these incredible people. They suggest they might already know the answer, but want confirmation from the architect himself. A tense encounter occurs involving Jin, Aegis, and Petruchka. Petruchka tries to protect Jin, but is told to stand down as their mission is complete. Someone is instructed to use their power on Jin as a temporary measure. The group prepares to retreat and treat Jin's condition. Amalthus appears, blocking further progress. His transformed appearance startles others. He reveals he created the cleansing procedure to collect cores from blades, claiming to be an agent of the architect's will. Others accuse him of delusions of grandeur and realize he has influenced Malice negatively. Amalthus refuses to change, fearing loss of self. Someone calls him weak for this stance. The narrative shifts to flesh-eaters, being transferred to Indol from Tantal. Aegis and Petruchka are identified as siblings through their connection to their former drivers, who were brother and sister. A desperate confrontation is underway with a powerful adversary who remains standing despite taking significant damage. There's urgency to stop him from obtaining a core that would make him unstoppable. Someone claims ownership of the architect's words and orders the elimination of both targets. Questions arise about past decisions, including why someone wasn't killed when they joined Rex and others, and whether becoming Rex was a mistake. There's an urgent plea to stop Malice, who continues searching for his identity. The confrontation intensifies with accusations that someone should have died with Tornah. Someone reflects on living as a chosen one, following orders as expected. The conversation shifts to blades, with observations about Pandoria looking human despite being a blade. There's discussion about how blades are commodified and sold, with cores displayed alongside pictures of the blades inside. A philosophical exchange about human nature follows, suggesting that people forcefully take what they're denied. A cynical view emerges that helping humans serves as a reminder of their true nature. A memory surfaces of a similar scene from the past, described as showing one face of humanity. Someone named Jin is remembered fondly. The scene transitions to a confrontation where someone encounters a blade without a driver. A character named Malos introduces himself as being similar to the blade. Later, there's a crisis involving a heat-seeking warhead and Coriolis deviation across an orbital ring. A dire situation unfolds as the beanstalk structure fails to hold against Saviorite rebels who are close to capturing it. The director attempts to initialize IL, but discovers they're locked out of the conduit by Professor Klaus. This revelation causes alarm as access cannot be secured from outside. Klaus declares they're about to witness the birth of a universe, moving mankind closer to divinity. Someone questions his understanding of the conduit, which Klaus describes as a gift and gateway to a new world. Galia counters that it's merely a meta-universe manifold and criticizes humans for ravaging the planet. The scene changes to travelers who've reached what appears to be their destination. They observe stars close enough to touch and the cloud sea below, realizing they've reached the top of the world tree. A sound leads them to believe they've found Elysium. A character reunites with their father and learns their real name is Logos, though they're told this name has no meaning beyond representing the ego of those who named them. After a long separation, they discuss their purpose, with the father figure acknowledging he's fading and will soon be gone. Travelers arrive at what they believe is Elysium, but find it devastatingly barren, not matching their expectations of greenery, water, and birdsong. They're shocked by the desolation, unlike anything seen on Alrest. Following a bell sound, they discover an ancient city stretching further than the eye can see. A meal scene unfolds where someone has prepared food for others to enjoy. There's friendly banter about washing hands before eating, with one person being unusually nice. The dynamic seems slightly off, causing confusion for someone named Rex. When they sit down to eat, there's a humorous exchange about cooking abilities, with references to someone's previous cooking disasters resulting in burnt food. The scene shifts as someone expresses confusion about their purpose and surroundings. This reveals that what everyone is experiencing isn't reality, but a vision created by Klaus, who identifies himself as the architect of their world. He explains he was examining their hearts and showing them alternate possibilities, their fears and inner selves. The group expresses discomfort with these visions. Klaus begins sharing memories of the world's history. He reveals that this reality emerged from a previous world's destruction. In his search for solutions to humanity's problems, he discovered the Conduit, a gateway to other dimensions. When he opened this gateway, much of his world disappeared, including half his body, which now exists in another dimension nearing its end. Seeking atonement, Klaus created the Cloud Sea with particles that could rebuild matter. He developed core crystals containing memories of former life forms which evolved into titans. These titans eventually gave birth to complex organisms that evolved into a new version of humanity. To prevent new mistakes, he implemented blades based on 3 cores: Ontos, Logos, and Pneuma. The names Melos and Pira Mithra are revealed to be the current identities of Logos and Pneuma. Core crystals at the heart of each blade relay information about the world and their bonded humans back to these processors. This data helps create evolutionary code for new blades, which eventually become titans, establishing a new circle of life designed to replace what was lost. Klaus draws parallels between the current inhabitants and humanity before the cataclysm. He mentions not intervening when someone took Logos and Pneuma 500 years ago, allowing destruction to begin. When questioned about this contradiction, Klaus speaks of fate and his doomed atonement. However, he notes that Rex's bond with Pneuma represents an unexpected change. The world begins shaking as Malos Logos attempts to destroy everything. Klaus explains that Malus is driven by the despair of someone named Amalthus. When asked what he desires, Rex simply states he wants to stop Malos and afterward make peace with him, citing a Salvagers code about fighting, then becoming friends. Klaus transfers Elysium's data and authorizations to Pira and Mithra before departing. The Conduit will soon disappear from this world, along with the ability to use special powers forever. There appears to be a meaningful exchange between characters, with one thanking another for giving life. The conversation indicates a significant shift in perspective about the world, with their answers now matching. The characters discuss Malos's whereabouts, determining he must have gone to the greatest of all artifices, a device created solely for world destruction. This revelation connects to something Malos had mentioned earlier, and the group decides to pursue him there. Upon arrival, they discover numerous sirens, indicating Malos's intention to destroy all of Arrest. Malos appears, presenting a theatrical welcome while acknowledging the deaths of several characters, including Akos, Petruchka, and Jin. He displays a dismissive attitude toward their deaths, claiming they all desired oblivion. A confrontation ensues about Nalis's true desires. Someone suggests his destructive will isn't his own, but comes from Amalthus. Malice rejects this reasoning, expressing indifference to the natural cycle of blades becoming titans and titans giving life to humans. He reflects on a man who had lost everything except his life, which became a curse tying him to existence. The conversation delves into the nature of the world as a wretched place. Someone points out that Malos himself is part of this world and responsible for altering Jin and Laura's life paths. Malos acknowledges this, describing himself as a hideous monster beyond saving. A poignant moment occurs when someone asks about connecting with a father figure. Malos reflects on what might have been in different worlds. He acknowledges a special driver relationship, while someone observes that a character has finally found meaning in life. This prompts philosophical musings about finding purpose, with the suggestion that sometimes leaving things to the next generation is enough. A crisis develops as the world tree begins collapsing, threatening to fall on all of Rest. The group desperately searches for a solution, identifying a control room for correction boosters 5 floors down. They theorize that firing booster jets could accelerate the world tree beyond escape velocity to prevent catastrophe. 2 characters, Azurda and Poppy, are called upon for help, despite initial reluctance and reference to a promise made earlier. An emotional plea convinces them to assist, though they consider this request unfair. The situation becomes increasingly dire as they discover what appears to be a port with ships. A revelation emerges that the only way to stop the world tree's collapse is to use the last of Ion's power to annihilate it. The characters are urged to escape using vessels and get as far away as possible. This creates conflict as someone desperately wants to reach Pira that is prevented by an earlier promise. A poignant moment occurs as someone is told they must let go and accept Pira's decision as part of becoming an adult. A heartfelt farewell takes place as a character expresses gratitude for meeting everyone. Something happens to a core crystal, followed by dramatic developments with the Titans. Initially, it appears the Titans are gone, suggesting they were too late to prevent catastrophe. The characters fear only ruins remain of their world. However, in a surprising turn, they witness the Titans joining with the land. This appears to fulfill what someone named Klaus had meant about restoring the world.